Okay, we're back. You can see that I've taped the target. I ran the drill, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, something like that, to make sure that I had it down and that I'm comfortable with it, because I don't want to fumble it and be accused of creating an artificially slow time. I want it to be as fair and honest as I can come up with. And I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. But this time, I'm going to draw, rack the slide, put a center hit into the bad guy, and we'll see the time difference between the two. Keep in mind, this is not a race holster. This is a normal holster. The gun's up tight against my side. It's above the belt. Actually, if I was going to carry this on duty, I'd actually like it a little higher, because not being a tall guy, a lot of times my jackets and shirts won't cover the bottom. But it's still a pretty concealable holster. So here we are. I'm walking down the street, or I'm standing in a parking lot. I've got a gun with an empty chamber, and we're going to see how fast I can react and put a center hit into the bad guy. It's a good center hit. 1.48 seconds. It's actually the fastest I've ever done that, amazingly. But I've been practicing it. Perfect practice makes perfect, I guess is what they say. Oh, and I just loaded the gun when I shouldn't have. Let's do it again and see how fast I can get this thing to go. That round is almost touching the last one. It wasn't quite as smooth. 1.26 seconds. Now we'll do it again, just for tickles and grins. Now 1.48, so I actually matched my best, the first and the last one. I think if we take my round in the chamber time, 1 second flat, now that I've been practicing it with an empty chamber, 1.5 seconds, you could pretty much say it's a half a second advantage to have a round in the chamber when you're expecting it. I'm standing here, I'm looking at a paper target. It's not a bad guy with a knife or a gun or a machete or whatever you want to think of. It's a paper target. I'm totally relaxed, and all I have to do is rack the slide. I did fumble it a little bit the one time, and I'm not under any stress. I would expect, if you were to be able to put some pressure on me, that would slow down. It might be 1.7 or 1.8 seconds. But even if we just take it half a second longer, was that half a second worth your life? You know, if that guy's coming up at you and you ought to be blocking him with that hand, when in reality it's racking the slide, you might lose. Just to be fair, I'm going to move over and I'm going to zoom in on the target, and you can see that those were good solid hits. I'm not playing any games. See, there's two that we're touching with the first two, and the third one is the higher one in the box there. And I was actually rushing that one a little bit. The gun hadn't come down to my normal index point. So I fired that round. I knew that it was going to hit, and I knew it was going to be a good hit. And I've shot enough of this that even though the gun hadn't quite indexed down, I pressed the trigger before it got to that point, because I was trying to do it fast. So I don't want to hear anybody come back and say, oh, well, you know, you're going slow or whatever. Not at all. The real deal, it's 50% slower. Your decision to make. Good luck.